Let's have a session on franchising. So franchising is a business model when the franchisor licenses a business idea, a business method, systems, a trademark to the franchisee. And that franchisee is essentially an independent business. It could be a sole trader. It could be a private limited company. Now, the idea is that the franchisor will get an initial fee. That is why they're selling that business idea, that business method to the franchisee. They will also get an ongoing royalty fee. And that ongoing royalty fee is a percentage of the profits. It could be a percentage of the monthly profits, or the semi-annual profits, or the yearly profits. Now, the franchisee, what they get for paying that royalty fee and paying that initial fee to the franchisor is they get to leverage, they get to make the most use of an established brand. And it might allow them, the franchisee, to grow their sales faster than if they were just an independent name that was essentially brandless. Now, a second reason that the franchisee will pay that royalty fee, will pay that initial fee, is because they'll receive initial training from the franchisor, and they will get support with marketing from the franchisor. In some franchises, the franchisor will pay for global advertising, global marketing. Now, the franchisor will, of course, have to pay for this training, for this marketing that the franchisee gets. So there's a bit of to and fro there in terms of the franchisor who has the business idea and the franchisee that's paying to use that business idea. Now, in most exam questions, it comes from the point of view, the POV, of the franchisor, and we're thinking about methods of business growth, methods to the business growing bigger. Now, the advantages, the pros to the franchisor, it's a cheaper way to grow. It's a cheaper way to grow because the franchisee is often paying for the setup costs. Now, the setup costs are sometimes referred to as fixtures and fittings. That could be the fixtures and fittings for a physical outlet in terms of if it's a new restaurante, the tables, the chairs, the signage at the front. Now that means that if the franchisee is paying for lots of this stuff, the fixtures and fittings, that will mean a lower capital investment from the franchisor's perspective. Now, additionally for the franchisor, because there's a lower capital investment, it allows them to grow much faster because they don't need to have as many sources of finance in place. Now, the franchisee will take on the operational burden. So they're doing all the setup, they're setting up in that local area, the business idea. So it means the franchisor is not doing so much of that. So they have less of an operational, a day-to-day burden. And you could argue that the franchisee is very motivated. It's their independent business. They want it to be profitable. So they're likely to try and make the most of it. And they are motivated to do so. It's their business. Now, of course, the franchisee might have local experience, expertise in the area that they look to establish the franchises or franchisor's idea there. So that's why it might be an advantage for the franchisor to leverage the franchisee's expertise. Now, there's problems from the franchisor's point of view. Number one is it's hard to ensure consistent quality across all the franchisees. Now, in this situation, we've just got one franchisee, but in reality, there are hundreds. In some cases, there's thousands, tens of thousands franchisees and just one franchisor. So it's a one-to-many relationship. So it's going to be hard to manage the consistency across all of those franchisees. More franchisees, more complex. Useful evaluation point. Also, more franchisees, more time, more resources, more money that's consumed into managing those franchisees. Now, secondly, if one of those many franchisees might do some sort of poor behavior, unethical behavior, then that might impact the entire brand's reputation, so the franchise's whole reputation, and everybody loses there. The one franchisor loses, and every other franchisee loses, and the brand of the franchise loses as a result of that. So in the case of using a franchising method, it increases risk, of course, there, and there might be a need for contingency planning to be in place. That's just an additional burden, an additional cost to think about. So I hope that helps on franchisees. See you in the next sesh.